Welcome to Clarion Connection. I'm Ron Wilshire, and today my guests are Paul Bylaska, Vice President for Finance and Administration at Clarion University, and Rick Taylor, Clarion University's new Director of Facilities Planning and Management. And Rick joins us first of the year.
Yes, that's right, Ron. I'll be starting January 3rd.
Today, I want to get into your background and everything a little bit, but I'd like to first start off this segment of the program talking about building projects at Clarion University. And Paul, there's a lot of interest in the community. Everyone knows something's going to be done with Tippin Gymnasium, and I was wondering if we could talk a little bit about that.
Sure, Ron. Good morning. With Tippin, we've been working on a feasibility study, trying to figure out what we can do, what we can't do. And, you know, as is always the case, there always seems to be more project than there is money. So we had to kind of work our expectations into what we really could afford. So right now what we're looking at, the outcome of the feasibility study, is that we're going to preserve some of the current Tippin building, but also build a new natatorium facility and work it in with the recreation center. Hopefully we can do that. The unfortunate thing is where it is right now, or some of the possible locations for the new building. We've got quite a few buried utilities there, and we kind of have to work around that because very expensive to move those utilities. But right now we're looking at a feasibility study that looks pretty good, that has some good possibilities. So at this point, we're moving on to the design. We have some funds that we can move into the design with, and we're very very optimistic about what we can do there.
You mentioned natatorium. Is that language for a new pool?
Well, you know, you got to be careful with that. When a lot of folks, especially in the community, think about a pool, they're thinking of recreational facilities. And when we're allocated funds by the state taxpayers, what they're looking for is something that helps our educational mission. So it first has to be the sort of thing that works in with our classes, works with our competitive intercollegiate athletic teams, and then secondly, you know, if we can work in some recreational aspects, we can, but we have to serve our students first, and our stakeholders, the folks that helped us find the funding for it, expect us to spend that money on our students primarily.
At one time there were rumors, well, there's always rumors, but that there might be two pools built as part of this project.
Well, I think one good thing about President Whitney is that she's always tried to get the community involved in the university and vice versa. So one of the first orders of business she gave to us as we developed our feasibility study was to take into account some recreational aspects and try to figure out what we could do if we did have extra money that we could put into the project. Now keep in mind, the only extra money that we've had to work with so far has been student fees. And we've reached out to the community, but it looks like, and this is an old story, unfortunately, the community doesn't have really the resources. Because when you think about it, if they had the resources, they probably would have put it into fixing up the current pool. Because frankly, having a freestanding community pool would probably work better for a lot of folks' interests than to try to work it into our natatorium. But that said, we're still keeping an open mind, and we're still looking at the potential for recreational as well as the academic and intercollegiate athletic use.
From what I understand, the pool has always been problematic for Clarion in terms of losing water and everything. A lot of people may not realize that how expensive swimming pools are.
And they are at that. You know, first of all, building a pool, building an intercollegiate pool, it has to be a certain temperature. You need certain depth for diving wells. A lot of things that go on. Keeping it at a certain heat, especially for a certain temperature, especially for a large pool like that, it's expensive to do there. And of course, we have the same concerns, the same issues with trying to save energy as anybody else. But then there are also the chemicals that you put into a pool to keep it clean, to keep it sterile. And frankly, those chemicals can be hard on the surrounding facility. And having a mixed-use facility like Tippin is, what that means is you get a lot of carryover, a lot of deterioration of the building. And that's really what we're dealing with the old Tippin. That's also why we're looking to separate the other kinds of athletic facilities, the other kinds of uses from the swimming pool use.
What's going to happen with the space that the old pool currently occupies?
What we're looking to do is we'll strip the space away. We'll demolish the parts around the old Tippin gymnasium piece and keep those kinds of the parts surrounding the gymnasium, and then we'll move the swimming pool facilities and a lot of the class facilities and that sort of thing, and move that to the other side of the recreation center, if the feasibility study holds.
In the great expansion of the mid to late 60s, a bunch of buildings were added very quickly to the Clarion campus, and Tippin was one of those. And in the speed of putting those up, probably certain aspects were neglected in the planning. What's the time frame for a project nowadays?
Well, I tell you what, we've accomplished the main thing, the most important thing for now, which is we've got the funding in place, we've got the feasibility study done, and we're ready to move into design. So design could typically take a year and a half, construction about the same amount. So conceivably, we could be looking at 3-4 years down the road. And again, a lot of things have to fall into place. And sometimes what slows us down the most, or what I should say we have to take into consideration the most, is the number of interests into what kind of facility it's going to be in. So, balancing those competing interests, that can take some time. I have to say though, one of the things is we like to have some community interest in this. In particular, Don Lees, one of our retired faculty members, has worked with us pretty closely. He's a fellow that has a lot of experience, a lot of expertise in competitive athletic natatoriums, and he's been very helpful in suggesting different kinds of design aspects that will help us.
In terms of construction projects, I believe some projects have local control and some are administered by the Department of General Services, i.e. the state. And since this is a state-funded project, would the actual construction be under DGS?
Right now, I think that's what we'd be looking at, is Department of General Services would come in and do the construction management of it and do what they do. But even a delegated project, they still are quite involved in what happens, and they still administer the funds, and they pick the architectural engineering firm that we use. So they're still quite involved, and they have a big role in what we do, however we do it.
What's the price tag at in this project? And it's more, obviously, much more than a swimming pool.
Shoot, I got to tell you, I'm not exactly sure what the price tag is at this point, and the reason for that is we've got a couple of different sources of funds, and we've got to take a look at what it would be with all of the sources of funds.
Another project on campus, kind of more of an invisible project, is the renovation of Beck Hall. How's that going?
Well, I tell you what, we're already in there doing some of the work, doing some of the structural preparation, and we've moved into the design, and frankly, we're trying to move to finishing up the design now and moving to the construction documents. I tell you what, there too, it's difficult kind of balancing out the kind of needs that we have for Becht. Among those is preserving the historical aspects of Becht, while recognizing that one of the reasons that it has historical aspects is it's a 100-year-plus old building. And of course, we've got to do some things with the structure of it to make sure that it's in good shape, in terms of what kind of structure you put in, what kind of beams are in. And frankly, we've got to do something with the roof. We're looking to preserve those clay tiles, but also we've got to get under that roof and put some kind of a liner under those clay tiles to make sure that we've got a decent warranty on the roof.
Not only preserving the past, but I believe you're looking to the future with the LEED certification for energy efficiency?
Absolutely. President Grunewald, President Emeritus Grunewald, kind of set the standard for us and said, hey, listen, what we want is a minimum of silver LEED certification, and we want a building that's environmentally sound, but also energy efficient. And we've worked toward that level for every building since. Fortunately, the building that's named for him, the Joseph P. Grunewald Center for Science and Technology, is in fact Gold LEED certified. I talked to our representative Department of General Services, and he gave me some new information, something I didn't know. That was their first Gold LEED certified building. So that's we're kind of leading the way in the Commonwealth. And he was pleased, we're pleased, and I'm glad that we could honor President Grunewald in that way.
Joe Grunewald always has an interesting story about the whole LEED certification business in terms of it's not so much that it's an environmental thing to do. It's a good business decision in terms of saving in utilities.
Well, Joe, he had done just about everything, including being an engineer. So he had some ideas that he brought into it, and frankly, with him, his strategy was, hey, let's try to invest more into the building on the front end, and try to reduce the maintenance, reduce what we spend for energy on the back end. And frankly, I think that's a strategy that works well for us, particularly as we look at perhaps diminished resources in the future.
Well, thank you, Paul. We're going to take a break right here, and after we come back, we'll actually talk to Rick Taylor, a new director of facilities management.
It's the holidays at Old Navy Funnovations Inc. and our Old Navy Deal Grabber is grabbing a special weekend wonder. I wonder what he'll pick up this time. Oh, he got one. Jingle bells. The Deal Grabbers grabbed a Jingle Jammies weekend wonder. All the snuggliest, buggliest jammies are just $7. And boy, do they go great with pancakes and a cup of cocoa. But this snuggly gift deal is only Saturday and Sunday. At Old Navy, come fun, come all.
Select styles only while supplies last.
Hi, this is Renee Vowinkle letting you know that the Clarion Ford and Clarion Chrysler have started their annual fill-up pickup truck with Toys Drive for Pennies from Heaven. We are collecting toys from now until December 15th at both locations. The toys will be distributed to qualifying children in Clarion County. Children are referred to Pennies from Heaven through Community Action, Children and Youth, as well as other local organizations. Monetary donations are always welcome and can be mailed to P.O. Box 222, Clarion, PA 16214. Thank you for helping Santa help these kids.
The needs of this community are outpacing our contributions.
It isn't too late to pledge a donation to the agency of your choice.
Hello, my name is Megan Levy, and I'm the president of the United Way of Clarion County.
And I am Jean Freeborn, treasurer of the organization. We are here today to remind you Clarion County is still in need of services.
The United Way of Clarion County raises funds for Clarion County, and our goal has not been reached.
The United Way needs to raise $195,000 in order to provide the services to Clarion County residents.
In 2011, the United Way provided services to over 23,000 residents, 7 member agencies, 4 community service agencies, and individuals facing a crisis.
Just $1 per week or $52 a year will guarantee the services can continue in 2012.
Send your pledge today to the United Way of Clarion County, P.O. Box 207, Clarion, PA 16214.
Or fill out the pledge coupon located in the Clarion News, midweek and weekender. Please pledge local, help your local neighbor.
Welcome back to Clarion Connection. I'm Ron Wilshire, and today we're talking about facilities management at Clarion University. And part of the, yes, that is not lightning or thunder. We're having a calm show here. But we're talking about the building programs and things of that sort at Clarion. And with us today is Rick Taylor. He's the new director of facilities management at Clarion University. And I wanted to take this time to welcome you to the Clarion community and also ask you, what does that job title mean?
Well, thank you, Ron. It's great to be here at Clarion. Everything I've learned in my campus interview several weeks ago showed me how friendly the campus is and how friendly everyone within town is. I just arrived on Thursday and have already found a place to live that's only 2 blocks from campus, so I'm looking forward to getting involved in not only the campus community but the broader borough community. The Director of Facilities Planning and Management job involves helping Paul and the administration and others with developing the projects from concept through tenant occupancy, working with the architects and engineers in coming up with a plan that will work not only to serve our students, but also to, as Paul said, stay within the resources that we have allotted. And then on the management side, we obviously have to do more with less. And we need to provide facilities that are safe and conducive to the learning and living environment for our students.
Rick, tell us a little bit about your background, what you bring to the job.
I started out in academia by working for an art school in my local community back in Massachusetts. I had graduated with a degree in civil engineering, and I came to work for the art school because they were converting what had been a textile factory into art studios for their new program in artisanry. And that was a really fascinating project. I love adaptive reuse projects where you take a building that wasn't necessarily meant for the new use and then create the new use within it. So we worked on that project, and then the school merged with a local university, which happened to be my alma mater. And unfortunately, the staff wouldn't be going within that merger. So I was looking for work and visited a friend in Connecticut and saw the advertisement for a job at Fairfield University. And I started there as basically a clerk of the works for their art center project and expected to be leaving soon after that was completed. And one thing led to another, and I ended up spending 20 years there, ultimately as the Associate Vice President for Campus Planning and Operations, which, when you look at the job description there compared to the job description here at Clarion, is almost exactly the same.
What are some of the surprises that you found about Clarion as you looked at the school and contemplated accepting a position?
I think what really surprised me was how everyone pulls on the same rope. And I suppose that shouldn't be a surprise, but everyone is just so friendly and dedicated to the school. And, you know, with the recent cutbacks and whatnot, obviously, it's become a challenge for everyone to try to attain the same quality that they want to bring to their job. And I think that taking a look at how the campus will integrate with the local community, especially with some of the projects that we have coming up, I think it'll be an interesting challenge to make that work for all the various constituencies that you have to meet with and satisfy in the course of a project.
Not only have we had new construction in fairly recent years, part of the success of Clarion has also been in maintaining our existing buildings, and it's probably more a question for Paul, but deferred maintenance is always a challenge facing the university, especially in light of, I believe there were some funding cutbacks in recent years.
Well, that's true, and frankly, we've had to tighten our belts in every area, and it really has been put a damper on our deferred maintenance efforts and increased our deferred maintenance backlog. That's something that will be a constant problem as we look at how to reduce the size of our budget. But you know, we deal with it. That's one of the things about working with the Commonwealth budget, and we'll just deal with it. We've got, frankly, a good group of people in our maintenance section, and frankly, that helps a lot.
There have been a number of retirements in recent years. How much staff cutbacks have you witnessed in, say, the last 5 years?
Well, that's a funny thing. You know, folks think about state institutions and talk about the tuition increases and about how the state budget keeps going up and up. Our state appropriation now is less than it was 10 years ago. and any kind of increases, we've basically had to take them out of the university's budget, $1 million a year for a lot of years at least, and frankly, something in excess of $7 million last year.
And as your many different hats you wear in terms of finance, the reduction in state funding is in actual dollars. There's no adjusted figures for inflation.
Oh, if you adjusted it for inflation, it'd be even worse. But then again, that's a whole other radio show, isn't it?
Yes, it is. There's some of the state system university presidents that have suggested that it's kind of an unofficial plan for the state to push the public universities into being sort of more private universities.
Well, if you ask the legislature and you ask the governor, I'm not sure that they would say that. I think they're just looking for us to be good stewards of state taxpayer money, and frankly, that's what we're trying to do. And if there's such a Commonwealth strategy, I'm sure that they'll let us know that. But what we're trying to do is prepare for what we have, do the best we can with the resources we have.
What are some of the future projects? By future, we probably mean 10 or 15 years, the way the state goes, that Clarion might be looking at. I understand the one of the ones that is a possibility. It's on the sort of the wish list, I guess, is the Marwick Boyd Auditorium.
Absolutely. Marwick Boyd would come up next after Tippin and our overall athletic facilities. But one of the things we're engaged in right now, in fact, we have a request for proposal that went out this week, is for a new facilities master plan. And we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. That master plan will really define what we'll be doing for the next 20 years and the kinds of facilities construction we do, and in fact the use of our space for the next 20 years. So that'll have a lot to do with it. And frankly, as we look at the community and their ability to provide their input, frankly, that's probably where they could do the most in terms of letting the university know what they're looking for from the university. And that's both the Clarion community and Oil City as well.
Speaking for the people that have been around here a long time, didn't we just do a master plan?
Gosh, it seems like it, doesn't it? Well, except that was just before I got here, so it's been a little while, and frankly, we hope that I think what everybody's hope for a master plan is, or for any of our planning, is that it doesn't stay on the shelf. And we're constantly retooling a facilities master plan, just like we're retooling all of our plans and saying, all right, this is what we thought 5-10 years ago, but does that still meet our needs? Has that changed with the environment that the university finds itself in?
So a lot of these things are not really set in stone. They're sort of a moving, flexible, living document.
Well, let's put it this way. Maybe they're set in kind of a flexible kind of stone. We've got these coal seams under.
It's not a quick set cement or anything.
Yeah, we got these coal seams under the university, so the stone moves around a little bit. But the important thing is that we're responsive to the conditions for that year, rather than put something in and say, "Oh, whoops."
Years ago, they did find coal, I think, where the student center is now, basically, and they mined it. Any chance of finding Marcellus underneath the campus?
Well, and that's one of the funny things. Folks have tossed around the idea of Marcellus being the new source of revenue for the university. Well, the way legislation is written right now, if we did find Marcellus, it is not the university itself that gets the revenue. It's the Commonwealth specifically. So we wouldn't have control over the revenue even if we did find it. But on the other hand, if they change that, we'll be happy to take advantage of any kind of resources we find. Now, keep in mind, the resources up to now have been a whole lot of coal, including under Tippin.
Right. there was an interesting story I saw in a newspaper a few weeks ago that California University, somehow or other, their Students Association, which is a separate nonprofit, owned land near the campus or something, and they entered into a contract to develop Marcellus Shale. Not that I'm advocating Marcellus, but...
Well, that's an interesting thing. I frankly, I don't know the specifics about it, but we were all very interested in that story and how all that came about. But California, they're very creative, entrepreneurial people down there, and I'm sure they figured out a way to make that happen.
I'm just not going to get you to budge on anything. Am I?
Sorry, what?
What are some of the other challenges that are facing you and in the position?
You know, I think President Grunewald said it best a few years ago, and he said, numbers are easy. People are tough. And I think the biggest challenge is making sure that, it's not that we treat everybody equally, but treat everybody the way and make sure we've taken everybody's needs, because everybody comes at you differently. Everybody has particular needs, a particular way of doing business. And, I'm hopeful that whatever we do, that we're taking everybody into account and treating everybody the right way, and that we're doing what's best, not just for Clarion University, not just for our Venango campus, but also for the Oil City community and for the Clarion community. And frankly, if you can't please everybody, but if folks say, hey, listen, I understand what you guys are doing up there, I think that's the best we can hope for.
Any words of advice for Rick when he officially takes on the new duties in the new year?
Just work hard, because there's plenty to do. Hey, listen, I'm really glad to have him with us, and that's the important thing for Rick.
Great. Rick, any concerns that you have after you've heard all this?
No, not at all. I'm used to working with limited resources, and I'm anxious to come to know everyone, and obviously I have quite a learning curve in terms of who we will deal with and getting the projects approved, and also making sure that we're managing the campus appropriately. So that's the big thing right now, is just coming to know Clarion and the Oil City campus, and then start working hard, as Paul said, and be ready to take everything on.
And everyone should consider that as the new planning process evolves at Clarion University, they do want some local involvement. This is not a time to be quiet. Let your opinions be known, and check the newspapers and websites and tweets and everything else out there. Your opinion is requested and needed. That wraps up another week of Clarion Connection. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.